Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Couch. I'm your host, Craig Bergner. Today, we have Walleye Event 2 recap. We are joined by the man himself, the head-to-head voice, Tyler Corey. Tyler, welcome.
Yo.
Coach. Today, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's a beautiful day. We're looking at a beautiful weekend. Thank goodness it's Thursday.
Yeehaw.
Because tomorrow means Friday, and then it's the weekend.
Let's go.
Nothing better than that.
Nothing better than that. Coming off a head-to-head event that...
it was a pitcher's duel, as Kyle likes to say.
It was a pitcher's duel.
No one was out of it. No one was really in it, but no one was out of it.
Yeah, that's true. But it happened.
Yeah.
We move forward. Now we see all the standings. We have the results in front of us. I mean, what's your overall takeaway from yesterday's event?
It was Bago. That is my overall takeaway. I've been in the camp that this was going to be a very tough event. We kind of are a little early. We're a little late and a little early because there's a really good early bite that goes on this system as those fish leave the lakes and go up into the rivers to spawn. And then it takes them a while to get back into the main lake and back to feeding. They kind of get in that post-spawn funk. Fish super spread out, doing a whole bunch of different things, and that's kind of exactly what we saw. Guys targeting main pinch points where these fish have to come through, hoping to find a few fish roaming through, and really all we had was guys that kind of figured it out. Obviously, McCoy and Lobs backed it up with another great event in Event 2, but a lot of guys really struggled to put even 1 pound fish on the board, and I think that this is just a classic transition event where fish are super spread out and no one was really able to land on a big wad of them.
It's interesting that you say the fish were super spread out because on numerous occasions the boats were not super spread out.
Correct.
So, yeah, it was a rocky event. People were just bouncing the entire time. Very wavy, rough waters out there. And not a lot of weight was put into the boat.
No, the conditions didn't help yesterday at all. With the big change, like I talked about during the broadcast, when you're fishing in the springtime, especially for me, like I like to see a stable weather trend. If you can have a stable, even if it's stable getting colder, stable getting warmer, as long as you're on a consistent trend, and what we had last weekend into this week before the event was anything but stable. We had lows in the 30s, highs near the 80s, shifting wind directions, a strong northeast blow yesterday. So it was one of those deals where the conditions really didn't line up very favorably. Guys weren't able to move around. Like when Bago's flat calm, you're able to do the run and gun, check a lot of places in an event type deal. But when it's rough, man, especially in 4 hours, it takes you a long time to move around in between spots. And we heard guys talk about, oh, we'd love to go over to the East Shore and try some of that stuff, but it's going to be a bumpy boat ride to get over there, and it's going to be a big time consumption for us. So it's better off just to camp here. We know there's fish here and try and put a couple on the board because really that's all a lot of teams needed.
Yeah, it was a difference of a fish.
Yeah.
And we talked on Tuesday that we thought there were going to be more fish caught. Mm-hmm. We had a feeling there were going to be a lot of small ones.
Yep.
And
that's what we saw aside from the numbers. I think our biggest fish yesterday was a 3-something by McCoy and Lobs, which for the Bago system, even out there, even post-spawn, is a
monster.
Yeah, that was a big fish, but if you look at the average, that's not. I really expected to see one over 4, closer to 5 pounds yesterday be the big fish of the day. But
a lot of small ones out there. So today we're going to check out a couple highlights, some interviews, recap the events, recap the matchups, and I figure we can start with talking about our picks.
Yeah.
Congrats, Tyler. 3 for 5.
3 for 5. Let's go.
Huge. So you are now 7 of 10 on the season.
Not bad.
Congratulations. Not bad.
I'll take a C- every day of the week. 70%. Got me through college.
C's get degrees, baby.
That's right.
C's get degrees. Do we know how the fans did?
I think that they were also 3 of 5. If I remember correctly, I do not have the results here in front of me because the story's expired, but I believe that they went the wrong way on that first matchup against the Mootses, and the fans also were in the camp of the Katowskis, which was an upset there. So 3 for 5 for the fans after going 5-0 in the first one.
80%
still pretty strong.
Of the season.
Yeah, and a lot of people were very undecided. Like 3 of our 5 matches were
very
within 10% of each other one way or the other. So the fans were pretty undecided on how this one was actually going to shake out, and we were too, honestly. When we made our picks, I didn't feel great about mine. You didn't feel great about yours. This one was very much a wild card.
And we were very different on our picks. Take all mine, find the nearest dumpster, set it on fire. I went 1 for 5. I am now 4 for 10 on the season.
Ouch.
This is brutal. At least I can fall back on the bass side where I'm batting 100% right now. So, yeah, not a great day for picks, but, onward, and we'll get better.
Yeah, and really, as the event went through, all of your picks were still in the hunt aside from Ted and Cody in that last hour. Yeah. Ted and Cody, and even in that one, like, you're talking about 5 or 6 fish if they're the right kind, but with the day we were having, like, you could put multiple teams together and they didn't have 15 pounds worth of fish. So
I can't wait to get your expert opinion on the Ted and Cody matchup when we get to that one. I was in the back scratching my head, like, what is going on here? Yeah, we saw fan favorites go down. We saw upsets. We saw a lot. Slow day fishing, but still a lot of intrigue, a lot of excitement. So let's hop into matchup number 1. The Mootses, they took on Durleen and Barry Ochoa. Barry Ochoa with, they didn't have enough. It was close.
Once again.
Right there.
Yep. Yeah, and just like in the first event, you saw them go over in the last 2 periods. And that's going to be, if they can't figure that out, that's going to be their Achilles heel, because it's very tough to win matches with 4 good hours. If you cut that in half, man, you are really, really fighting against the odds.
Yeah, it ended up being 7 pounds, 14 ounces to 5 pounds, 4 ounces. It sounds like we have some interviews. Andy, let's fire up an interview here.
All right, well, I guess fishing was tough. We caught some fish. It looks like we were able to catch enough fish to take the win today, which is good. Appreciate Al coming and subbing for me. The Walleye X Predator bait is what we were using, trolling today. That's what caught all our fish. Lost a few.
Yeah, lost 2 at the boat and possibly 2 other ones.
Yeah, and thanks to our cameraman for hanging out and not being silent and talking with us. Seems how we had a slow day, but it's all right. We caught some fish.
Yeah, no one fell out of the boat.
Yeah, so appreciate everybody for watching. Thanks. And to the other team that we were up against, it's a tough goal, but yeah, like they said earlier, somebody was going to end up going 0-2. Hopefully that's not us. But congrats. Hopefully they had a good day as well, or, didn't get beat up with the waves. So,
yep,
we're good.
What do you want to ask us here, Dougie? We sucked today. Brody?
We ain't back.
Yeah, it was tough. We decided not to go out and get beat up on the reefs. I'm happy personally, but not happy with the results by the looks of it. So
We gave her hell. Her bite just completely died.
Yeah.
Sheep's head took over.
We're sheephead
Congrats to the
specialists.
Mootses, though. They kicked butt today. Good job, guys.
Well, looks like they got us. Thanks for being on the boat with us, Dougie.
So I don't think they sucked for the entire day.
Right.
They had a good first half.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put up all their weight in the first half and then went over in the second half. That's rough. Like you said, 4-hour sprint. If you cut that in half, that's really, really tough to get a win with that situation. So what happened? Like, why did the bite just go away, and did they just not make the proper adjustments? Did they not move? Like, what happened?
They were pretty well committed to that mouth of the river area, and it's typical to see a good day of pre-fish there followed by a bad day, because that's a transit spot. There's very few fish that are living there. Obviously, there's always bait passing through the river. You got current pushing fish through that area, but a lot of that is just, think of an escalator at the mall. Like, people are just passing through there. No one's going for a ride on the elevator all day long. So you might pull up there one day and there's a whole bunch of them, a big wave of fish pulling through to get back out to the lake. Some days there's not. And yesterday, with the wind kind of slacking up the current, moving water around, I have a feeling that that's kind of what killed that bite for them. Just not bringing as many fish through that transit area as what they might have saw during pre-fishing when the conditions were a little more favorable. They also didn't move around a whole bunch on the lake, but they moved around a lot in that area. I give them a lot of credit for trying to figure out what was going on in that micro area that they stayed fishing, and they were the only ones to hold it out there all day. We saw a lot of teams stick in that area. They were the only ones, aside from maybe the Katowskis, who stayed put there all day. Could have been their fatal flaw, honestly. If they would have tried to make a move around, fish some reefs, try some other stuff, maybe they would have got back in this match. But at the end of the day, they clearly felt pretty good about their decision-making right up until the end, and you can't fault them for it. Really, they were one good fish away from winning this match, and the Moots got on their own deal. Really, they were the only ones that we saw pulling boards kind of out of that mouth of the river area where we saw a lot of teams, and props to them. They went for a game plan just like they did in Event 1. That was not the community pick, and it worked out for them this time. Those two are Bago guys. That was Joel Moots and Al Fisher there. Joel had a sub in this event. Worked really well in the boat together. They had that double. They had multiple fish catches where they handled it really well. Trolling can be something that's very intimidating if you're not used to it, and these guys proved that they are Bago trolling wizards, and they have this deal dialed in. I got a feeling we're going to see something real similar next week.
They talked about losing fish at the boat. Did the rocky conditions lead to more fish being lost?
I have a feeling that played a part in it. Also, the conditions not being a very favorable, like biting kind of day, probably had a lot of fish short striking the bait. And in those conditions with those smaller fish, you get those fish to come up on the surface. That change in resistance, like I know I don't have a ton of experience trolling, but when I'm bass fishing, I like that fish to be down in the water as long as possible because I have a controlled amount of resistance against that fish.
Okay.
That hook isn't going anywhere if that fish is under the water and I'm pulling the same amount against him. When that fish comes to the surface, especially a ways out from the boat, you get that change in resistance of how much you're pulling against that fish, and sometimes that can result in lost fish.
That makes sense, even to non-fishermen like myself. Good win.
Yeah.
You got to beat the team in front of you, like they said.
Yep.
You know, don't want to go 0-2. Don't want to start 0-2.
For the second match in a row, we saw Darlene and Barry Ochoa put up a winning weight in a match that they lost.
Yep.
Which is, talked about it during the bass event, talked about it during the first walleye event. That's luck of the draw here with head-to-head, and that's what makes this format so interesting. If your competition raises you to a level beyond what others do, you're just in a tighter match. There's nothing you can do about it. You have to rise to the competition that you're put against, and unfortunately in this one they weren't able to. New matchup next week for those guys, and they're going to have to turn it around. Otherwise, they're going to be staring down the barrel of 0-3, and that is not a good position to be in.
Now, you talked about the second half struggles. Is this the second match in a row that they've struggled coming out of halftime? Essentially,
quote unquote, coming out of halftime. In that first event, they had that handily lead over the Katowskis, and then the Katowskis mounted that crazy fourth quarter comeback while Darlene and Barry Ochoa went silent. So they're going to have to figure out how to make those adjustments later in the match, because they've come out to a good jump every single time that they've hit the water and head-to-head. It's just they haven't been able to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about adjusting, right? Making the proper adjustments here, and maybe they see, okay, we've struggled now 2 events in a row. Let's make the proper adjustments. And, I mean, they start putting weight in the second half, they could possibly be 2-0 right now.
If they can just match what they do in the second half, in the first half, we're talking about a totally different team here.
Yep.
So, yeah. I think that they'll get the wheels back on the bus here after the first 2. This is their first 2 head-to-head events, 2 very different fisheries to start the season. Kind of puts them in an interesting spot. That first event, it was all about pace, how fast you could catch them, processing fish, being able to net them efficiently became so much more important. And this one, it was simply just getting bites, and their bites kind of ran out towards the tail end.
Yeah, they talked about sheephead Did the sheephead just come and take over where they were at?
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like. And you see that, like I said, it's a very fertile area. A lot of nutrients pushing through that neck down point at the mouth of the river, and that attracts everything. White bass, walleyes, bass, sheephead, crappie, bluegill. It's just a life-filled area.
They
right.
need some walleye.
Unfortunately, only one of those counts towards the category.
Right.
So,
yeah. Anything else on this first matchup?
no, props to the Moots getting back on track here. They're sitting at 1-1. Didn't do themselves a whole lot of favors in the season total weight, but like we talked about during the broadcast, you look at Keller and Eaton last year. Didn't matter about season total weight if they can just keep edging out victories.
The ultimate importance is the W column.
Correct.
You are in the W
Yep.
column now. Congrats. Big win by the Mootses. Next matchup. This was supposed to be the slugfest of all slugfest.
Correct.
This was what we were looking forward to, and it was a letdown.
Yeah.
It was a huge
little bit.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
McQuaid Labs are, they're the top of the
They're the real
mountain.
deal.
They are the real deal.
They've proven it.
I'm not going to doubt them from here on out. I am 0-2 picking against them, and shame on me. They dominated this matchup. 15 pounds, 11 ounces, put up weight in every single quarter, finished the match really strong.
Yeah.
They just did everything correct. These guys are monsters out there.
In the inverse of what we've seen in the first matchup, these guys really did make critical adjustments throughout the day, and they all paid off. It really felt like they came into the day without a whole lot of preconceived notions into what was going on, and then throughout the day kind of picked up breadcrumbs and found their way to a strong victory.
Second week in a row, top weight. You're going to be all right if you
can keep doing that.
Weight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And two high-profile matchups for those guys. They were under the lights both the first and second week. If they didn't have a target on their back coming into the season, they got one now because they have been able to slay the dragon twice now against two very, very impressive competitors.
And then you had Ted and Cody who put up the goose. So let's hit the interview, and then we'll chat about Ted and Cody.
Well, that was fun.
It was a good day.
But
Started out slow, but we had being a little nervous. We've been playing fishing against Ted and Cody, and we did good yesterday. So we figured we had a game plan, and we only had to hit two of our few spots that we had. But it was fun. We got into the schools. They bit fast and quick for about 45 minutes, a little over an hour and a half. So that was a good day.
That's one thing about this lake is it's tough fishing, and then you get in that school like that, and they just fire, and you can put a lot of weight on fast. And that was kind of our goal today, was just find that right window somewhere and make it do.
Yeah,
I think so.
sounds good.
Not super impressive day today. I wasn't expecting to have this kind of day. I spent the last 2 days pretty much doing the same milk run that we just did, and I had no problems getting some walleyes to go. It just seemed like there was a lack of fish today. That first spot that we were at this morning, there was fish everywhere, but I had a feeling that a lot of those are sheephead. That's what we were catching anyways, and made a trolling pass through there and nothing, and just kind of continued to spin our wheels, checking all the spots that I did catch fish at this week. But you win some, you lose some.
Lady Bagel, it's
tumbling.
If you're gonna lose, you might as well throw up a goose egg and lose.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Congratulations to Eric and Steve. They looks like they found some. It looked like they had a little bit of a slow start, but they must have got on some, and it's good for them.
We'll see where we're at.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't drop too far down in the standings.
We shouldn't be any more than 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I think this is the first time
lost weights because everyone was matched up perfectly.
First time we've ever zeroed, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna come back out here strong next week, and we're gonna make it happen. Won't hang our heads on this one for too long. That's for sure.
About 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Thanks.
in Ted fashion, if you're going to lose, you might as well drop a zero on them.
Might as well lose good.
Yeah, do it the best way you can. Yep. They didn't fall too far. They're still third in the standings.
I was going to say, dropped one spot. So as bad of a day as it was for them, self-proclaimed, like it dropped them one spot in the standings. They're still the top team at 1-1. We only have 2 teams sitting at 2-0. Like, Ted and Cody will be fine after this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, this is definitely one that they had circled on their schedule. Like, if we can get a win here, we are in the driver's seat with that number 1 seed, and didn't happen for them.
Yeah, now they just need a little help. They need someone to knock off the Giants here. Yeah, man. I mean, Ted and Cody they're going to be fine, but their ultimate goal is to be the number 1 seed. They want to be. They want the bye. They want all that stuff. I think they like the accolades of being the top dog.
They want the pedigree for sure.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It was not their day.
No.
Sometimes as fishermen,
you have those
days.
Happen? Absolutely, it does, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Like in your mind, in the heat of the moment, you are making all of the correct decisions. It's just you need to land on a place where they are, and I think that this was a classic example of trying to do too much. Watching them in the multi-view cam while the stream was going on, you saw them move around a ton. These guys were constantly on the move, which can be a really good way to catch them on Bago, but it also can lead to, man, am I doing the right thing? Like questioning your own decision-making and stuff. And like I said during the broadcast, sometimes not making any decisions at all, like we saw with Derlene and Barry Ochoa, camping in one area can be the wrong move. In the inverse, making too many decisions, trying to do too much can also be the kiss of death in these 4-hour matches. So I think what we saw with McCoy and Labs was a perfect combination of both of those things. Guys didn't move around a whole bunch, processed all of the clues that they were given throughout the day, and put it together towards the end. I don't think it was an afternoon bite for them. I think it was one of those deals where they just needed to figure out the right recipe, and they did towards the tail end, and Ted and Cody just never got that first clue. And as a tournament angler, when you never get that first clue, it's really difficult to build a day on that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like Cody had a plan going in, and it sounded like they exhausted all of their spots.
Correct.
Yeah, on the broadcast, did we hear anything from McQuaid and Labs about like checking their phone, like, oh, holy cow, they have 0 still?
Yeah, they definitely were looking at it. Every time they entered a fish, they would say their total, which means that they're seeing what the score is. They never mentioned what their competitors had. Doesn't surprise me. These guys strike me as lock-in kind of guys, like watch our own bobber, worry about what we can do, and then we'll figure out the rest when the time comes.
Well, they are a finely tuned machine and going to be very difficult to knock off. We saw them dominate Bay of Green Bay. We saw them now dominate Winnebago.
Yeah.
Like, you could put them in the backyard in a pond with no fish in it. They're going to come away with some fish.
Guy could catch one in a toilet bowl, it seems like.
You got it. Yeah, these guys are tough, and here on out, I'm going to be riding that train a little bit in the W column. So hopefully I'm not the kiss of death here for their wins. Yeah, great. It should have been a great matchup. It just, fish weren't there. I think we're going to see this matchup down the road a little bit. So
I do too. I think that this will be a redemption type matchup for Ted and Cody, and they are now they're in one. They need to turn it around this next week. It sounds like that's totally their plan. Try and see who they're fishing up against in Event 3. Ted and Cody have Kloss and Ackley. So we're tied at 1-1 in that matchup right there for next week, and that's going to be a good one. Both of those teams looking to kind of right the ship on their season. Not saying that either of them are in a terrible spot. 500 after the first 2 events is by no means a bad spot to be in, but Ted and Cody are going to be fishing with a chip on their shoulder from here on out after this loss, I got a feeling. And this is not the way that they wanted to start their season. They had dreams of going undefeated. They had big aspirations of that number 1 seed. They are by no means out of the conversation for it. They just got work to do.
And work they will. Next matchup, we had the solo man himself, Joe Okada, taking on Robert Kloss and Nick Ackley. 8-9 matchup heading into yesterday. Both needed a win.
Yes.
Both needed some weight on the scoreboard.
Correct.
Clausen Ackley did just enough to get the dub.
Correct.
3 pounds in the boat. Joe, 1 pound. That's 2 events in a row now for Joe. That, the stumble is there, man.
It just felt like Joe never really got that clue, like we were talking about. That one fish, Kyle said when he got back yesterday that he lost one that he estimated to be 2 to 2.5 pounds, which gives him the lead in the match.
That's the win.
The guy was zoned in. Clearly, we saw it with that delayed penalty that he had. Yes. He was in the zone, not worried about any of it, just worried about catching the next fish. And sometimes that laser focus can drive you right square in the ditch because you're not analyzing all of the clues that you're given.
Yeah. Well, let's hear what these guys have to say. Let's head to their interviews.
Good. Well, a fun day on Winnebago.
Yeah. This isn't everybody's idea of fun, but
right?
I'm having a good time.
Yeah. We started our day in the mouth of the river, trying to do a little jigging up in there. There were some fish hanging out. They kind of moved in the channel a little more. We couldn't get anything to bite along the wall, but
Played with the rock wall to start.
Yeah, but our plan was to do that and then pull some flies. So we did that for a while. Got a couple dinks. Saw a couple other fish caught. That really wasn't happening. This actually would have been one of our primary plans, to come out here and jig some reefs.
We were just kind of hesitant because
the wind and waves this morning were pretty nasty. So, but I'm glad we kind of made a move and come out here, and our camera guy was able to tough it out with us for the ride, and the ride out wasn't bad, but so we just pitched some jigs and crawlers up here on top. We're actually over by Long Point, nothing special. Threw a hair jig for a little bit. Our pre-fish was kind of goofy. We never really had much going on. A bunch of small fish.
Little fish is all we found.
Sheephead, big sheephead.
Big sheephead, and tried a trolling bite to get a pre-fish going. And I got to admit, we were kind of winging it to some degree today.
But we'll see. We're back here next week. Water's warming up quick out here. The bite's going to heat up pretty good. I think by next week you could see, depending on the weather, a lot of people out on the reefs. Maybe even a little trolling along some shores. I don't think there's much in the mud yet out here.
Nope. I would imagine the shoreline rocks.
Yeah, especially this west side. Hopefully the east side picks up a little bit. There have been some fish over there too, but so we'll see what happens next week. But looks like we got the win over Joe. Love you, Joe. Sorry,
man, but
it is what it is.
You can buy him an adult beverage.
But I'm glad we got a win.
Me too.
As much as we aren't. We'll take that. You don't want to dig yourselves out too much of a hole. We'd like to make the championship or the playoffs, but not our ultimate goal.
If we get there anyway, that'd be a lot of fun. So, hey, thanks to Head to Head again and the Real Shot and putting all this on and getting us out here fishing. Because to be honest, I don't know if we'd have come out here on a day like that.
Forcing us to come out. Thanks to our wives as always. Thanks to our sponsors. Mercury Yamaha. Mercury, Yamaha. You got me Yamaha. Mercury Yardcraft, Cedar Lake Sales. Go check them out. They actually we owe them a big thanks for getting me back on the water. A week ago I had an engine issue. Dropped the boat off on a Sunday evening, and they called me by 2 o'clock Monday, said it's ready to rock and roll. So thanks a ton to those guys. If you're ever looking for a boat, whether it's a Yardcraft, a Camus, a pontoon, or a Crestliner, go check them out. They're family there. They take care of you. Do a great job. They have me in and out so fast that my head was spinning. I had to run back and forth to pick up the boat, but they'll take care of you. They do a good job. They're a great dealership, so they're like family.
Speeds, custom rods, Doc's custom. Don't forget about Doc.
Doc's Customs.
I will get back in the booth. I promise. I will be there tomorrow.
So that's kind of a wrap for our first Winnebago event. I guess we'll see what happens on the next one.
It was a good time.
I don't even know who we fish next time. Fish against, but it doesn't really matter at this point.
I'll probably look on Tuesday evening like I did this time.
So appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody watching, tuning in. Hopefully, we put on a good show and we caught a few fish today. Made it exciting at the end. I don't know if that one will show up, our excitement at the very last second.
Yeah. I hope it did, because that was great.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
See you guys.
See ya.
Wow. Oh, Winnebago. So fun. I blew this match 3 times today, and kind of disappointed in that, but fish come off, so that's okay. But really didn't start feeling any activity from fish until almost 2 hours into the match. That sun kind of started to peak out a little bit, and all of a sudden fish started exposing out of the weeds. And that was one thing with that second spot we went to, you don't see all the fish there, and so I was actually having to sit still and draw fish up out of the weeds, then get them to follow, and then every few of them would bite, and just not all of them would come to the boat. But this is a good warm-up. I guess we'll be back out here again next week, so I'll have to figure something else out. But appreciate you guys watching, and I'll put on a better show for you next time.
Man.
All right. Klaus and Ackley, first of all, great job promoting all your sponsors, and I love it when they do that. Great job. Great platform for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The happiness that those two had. I don't know if they're like that if they lose, but my goodness, they're just
thrilled to be in the boat together. It's great.
I love that.
The team dynamic is good, and I will give them all the credit in the world. Not a ton of catches yesterday. They did catch some dinks, some non-scoreable fish. Every single fish they caught, they did a great job breaking down exactly how they caught it. So if you're looking for an informational guy, Bob's a guide. He does stuff on the Bay of Green Bay. He does stuff on Winnebago, and he will absolutely tell you, give you the break. He'll take you catching if that's what you want to do. If you're a novice angler, you don't really care about the nuts and bolts of it, he'll absolutely take you catching. But if you're trying to become a better angler, that's your guy. He does a great job breaking down exactly what he's doing. He'll explain it in a manner that makes sense to most people, and props to him. They certainly had every opportunity to spin out in this match. Both teams did. It was a slow match for both of them, but they were able to keep themselves in it, make that adjustment from the mouth of the river to some reefs, and get the W.
And then Joe. He knew he made some mistakes.
Yeah.
Are these guys going to carry the same game plan over? I mean, they're turning right around, doing the same dance next week.
I have a feeling that you'll see a lot of people start where they ended in this one, unless they get out this week and pre-fishing shows them otherwise. But these fish are on the migration. There's changes happening. Weather's changing. Things are warming up quickly. The bite's advancing. So I think you'll see some adjustments made pretty early if stuff's not working out. But if it got you a match win this past week, I think that it would be crazy to not start where you left off.
Yeah.
And clearly Okada was around some fish. He was when we got to get in the boat with him live, he was working fish almost every single cast. You could tell just his mannerisms, his demeanor. The guy was locked in. The guy was interacting with a lot of fish, and lost fish sucks, but as a tournament angler, I always say if it comes down to lost fish for me, I needed to figure out a way to generate more bite.
Would he have gotten these fish in the boat with a partner? We're always going to have the partner talk with Joe.
I doubt it. I think a lot of them came off kind of halfway. I didn't get to see all of the catches, but I don't think any of them came off right at the net and would have cost him. Maybe there was one that he could have netted, but he opted to lift in the boat. But once again, that's that decision-making stuff, heat of the moment, especially if you think that you're on a group of fish, you're starting to get the deal figured out. You just want to get them in the boat as fast as possible so you can get back out. Yeah. So tough to say if the partner cost him in this one. Once again, he was off doing his own deal, and that's what's very interesting about Joe Okada. 2 events in, and we haven't seen him in a crowd one time. And kind of estimating where he was at yesterday, he was off doing something very different than what we typically see on Winnebago. He's a very original thinker. The guy likes to be on his own stuff and thinks differently than a lot of anglers, which is exactly what makes him lethal. But, man, their community holds for a reason on Lake Winnebago, and there's always fish there, and that might have been what cost him in this one.
Yeah, close matchup.
Yeah.
Basically a fish apart.
Right.
But congrats, Klaus, Ackley.
Yeah. Good work.
Yeah.
Put a win in the win column. Both of these teams would probably consider themselves more Green Bay guys than Winnebago guys. So to notch a W on Winnebago for Klaus and Ackley is huge, because I got a feeling that they're going to be powerhouses when we come down the stretch on Green Bay. And I think that they're going to have something to say about where they're sitting right now. And I would be shocked to see them at almost 500 or below when this season ends.
And the common theme, every interview, all we hear is, oh, Winnebago.
Yeah.
Every time.
Exactly right. Everyone knew coming into this one that it was going to be tough, and it was exactly that.
Let's jump down to our next matchup. Mitch Dawn and Kurt Yoder.
Yeah.
Yoder.
Yoder.
Yeah,
we'll go with
let's
that.
go. Taking on the Katowskis. 5'10" for Dawn and Yoder, and 1 pound for the Katowskis.
Came really early for the Katowskis, too. They put that fish on the board within the first 10 minutes. They were jacked up to put a keeper in the boat.
Thought it was going to be a different Winnebago experience for them.
Yep.
Yeah. Nope.
Absolutely. And Mitch Dawn and Kurt Yoder, they stuck with their game plan. They were also doing something a little different out in the teeth of the wind, and they made it work. They had every opportunity as well. You look at the first 2 hours, I believe there was nothing on the board for them, and then turned it on in the second half. They were able to keep in it mentally and knew that it was going to be a couple fish matchup and made the adjustments that they needed to get the W.
Yeah. Wild matchup. They had a huge third quarter, like you said, and that was that. That was the matchup. Let's check out the interview, see what the guys had to say.
All right. Well, we just wrapped up event number 2 here, the head-to-head league on Lake Winnebago. And true to its colors, Winnebago fished tough. There was a here yesterday, gone today kind of thing. And it was ugly, but we got our second win. I think we finished with 5 and change, just under 6 pounds. I was kind of expecting after yesterday, maybe closer to that 12 mark optimistically, but a win's a win and we'll take it, and I guess we'll be back out here in 2 weeks again.
Yeah, we'll keep rolling. I mean, we were on 1.5 to 3 pound fish yesterday, so small ones moved in. Glad we got the win. Looked like it was tough for a lot of people. There were a lot of people running around, so got to give a shout out to my kid Logan. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, bud. 8 years old today. So thanks. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Nice.
That was rough.
What would you do differently?
Wait till we're back in the bay.
I don't even know if I have an answer for that. I mean, doing differently.
Go back to the bay.
I mean, we could have trolled. I don't know. I never got any time on the water before the tournament, the event today. I've been working a lot. We had really good information that there was a heck of a bite yesterday morning right here. Pumping flies. That's about the only thing we had to go on. We had great information from Charles King and Alex King actually about some fish that were up the shoreline. We weren't going to play in the waves today. It's just too nasty, and I wasn't very ambitious about going and beating ourselves up for that. So I don't know. I mean, next week it's a new week. Unfortunately for us, we're back on Bago.
It seemed like there was a little bit of a bite window early.
Yeah.
Maybe could have capitalized on that a little bit more.
Yeah, bite window this morning for sure. It was. We had a good string there, a couple pulls upstream that were pretty active. Lost 5 fish. I think we were hooked up on. They popped off halfway to the boat. I mean, you never lose a junk fish, but you never know what they are. They could have been a sheephead or a catfish or something. Hard to tell, but I mean, could have capitalized on those. That would have made a big difference, I think.
And then talk a little bit about what you were doing.
Yeah, so we were pumping 3-ways with flies. We actually ran 2 flies on 1 rod. And then we pulled a bottom bouncer with a slow death. That caught our only weighable fish. And I think our dink, right?
Yeah, combo.
And then I was pulling a 3-way rig with a Rapala floater 7 or a 9. I had a few good bites on that. Came off. Was fishing. But just trying to generate more bites. Having different things out and then letting the fish kind of tell us what they wanted, and it just, everything kind of got bit at one point. We couldn't capitalize on getting them in the boat.
And so then the next event is when?
Next week.
Next week, Wednesday. On the Winnebago chain, May 14th. So before we go, thanks sponsors. Can't forget, oops on the last one. Decade of Wisconsin. Contact Cody Solberg. Put a new floor in the boat. It's very comfortable to stand on. I like the clean finish to it. All Out Marine has been outstanding for me. I've had a handful of things going, just like a weird relay on my jack plate a week and a half ago. They got me in, got me out in a day. They're fantastic to work with. Outside of them, we've got a couple other new companies: Brown Plumbing, KLA Electric, Wire Tech Fabricators back with us again this year. We got Dreamcatcher Outfitter and Taxidermy, Rocket Bobber, Head to Head and Fix, fantastic. Even though we're not great on the Winnebago chain, we love the format. Outside of that, I think that's everybody, right?
Wives and my fur babies.
Wives and my daughter. Hi, Harper. Hi, Mom. Thanks for the cookies.
Yeah, thank you.
What are you doing?
I was going to say, we got a little taste of those Katowski cookies.
Delicious.
They were fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you can tell Winnebago is not their jam.
No, and it almost feels to me like they know that their time to shine is Green Bay.
100%.
And if they can just pull a victory on the Winnebago chain, they're going to be just fine this season.
Yeah. He made a good point. Didn't want to beat the body up. Didn't want to go stand in the waves because I watched plenty of these boats on the waves, and they have to be hurting units today.
Absolutely. It was rough, without a doubt. And it kind of kept them in that area. And if you don't have any practice, getting on a high percentage place like the mouth of the river and spending all your time there is pretty solid play. You heard him say that they didn't have any time to get out and pre-fish, and Winnebago's tough to try and break down just on the day in 4 hours. So props to them for what they were able to get done. And then props to Mitch and Kurt, man. They are on a heater right now, 2-0. Our only other team that is 2-0 is McCoy and Lobs. And, man, if they can get through next week with a W again, they're going to be in a great position come down the stretch, because they had some strong Green Bay events last year as well in the tail end of the season. So props to those guys sticking it out. Had every opportunity, like I said, to spin out, and they stayed in it the whole time, and that shows a lot of growth as anglers for sure.
Yeah, for sure. A win over a very, very, very good team in the Katowskis.
Yes.
And, hats off to them. 2-0.
Yep.
Sitting pretty right now.
Absolutely.
Great
they
spot to be in. Anything else on this one?
Not really. That was kind of, I expected the Katowskis to put a couple more on the board, this match to be a little tighter, but ultimately I think that they're going to regroup before next week and get back out there and see what they can do. They are faced up against Joe Okada. Both those teams looking for a W. The Katowskis looking to right the ship on Winnebago, and Okada looking to right the ship, period.
Yeah. Yeah, we might be heading into desperate times already at 0-2, but we'll see. We'll see how he rebounds.
Without a doubt.
Heading into our last matchup, we have Sean and Riley Grahams. They took on Alec Nickel and Damon Golke. Talk about a nail biter.
Yeah, I mean, a low-scoring match, but it was tight right till the end.
Yeah, Nickel and Golke threw one in very late in the matchup.
Kind of slammed the door on that deal. Not a crazy impressive total weight from the day, but really from what we saw, like that 3 to 5 pounds is what got it done for the most part, and they were right there. They were able to stay in it. They had a fairly risky game plan. They were in the teeth of the wind the entire time, never let that alter their game plan at all, and props to them. They were making adjustments throughout the day and never landed on a super huge pile of fish, but had enough to get it done.
Yeah, Nickel and Golke, they finished with 2 pounds, 13 ounces, and Sean and Riley got skunked.
Got the goose egg.
Got the goose. Let's hear some interviews.
All right, looks like we got it done. Not what we wanted, but Lady Bago has changed today. It's angry out here. It's changed our bite. We went to our first plan. about 7-8 miles away from here. It didn't work out. In the first 30 minutes, we just realized, hey, this water's turning up too quick. It's too dirty. Let's get out of here. Go with what we knew from a few days ago. Ran to some spots that we knew from a few days ago. Fish were still here. They were just tough to get the bite. 3 dinks and 1 good one. And on a mix of different baits, we weren't able to do the slip bobbers. We weren't able to do the jig and a crawler really efficiently the way we have been catching them. And the only other bite we kind of had was a plastic bite and a little bit of a crankbait bite, and we kind of grinded out those today with this wind.
Yeah, I've fished Bago enough to know that when conditions get like this, it's going to be a tough grinder. You know, and we've had conditions throughout practice that are a little bit of both, that flat calm and this. When we caught them in this, it was just bite window, bite window, bite window. And for us, in our spots that we hit today, it just, our progression never got that bite window.
Just random bite here and there.
It was random.
On 3 different baits to start off, and then the last one came on a crank again.
We just couldn't get a pattern together that seemed like to work in the 4 hours, but that's what's fun about this format. You know, you got to think quickly, efficiently, and you know, just try to catch them.
Make adjustments quick,
Yep. And time is never on your side in any tournament, but especially 4 hours. That's a small window to overcome, you know, some of these conditions. But
we're not happy with the weight we put up. We thought we were going to have a really good day from what pre-fish has been. I mean, I caught 20 fish yesterday over 15 inches. Really good day the last couple days. We were excited for it, but at the same time, we won. That's all we can do. We won our match and just look forward to the next one. We got McCoy next week, so that's going to be a big one for us. And, you know, I'm sure, I don't know how the match went, but I'm sure he's looking to get that win under his belt as well. So
we're gonna need a big execution, a lot more execution.
Right. Yep. We need to boat some more fish.
We're just gonna keep having fun like we always do.
Yep. As long as we're having fun. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We've been having a blast out here. Every boat that is in this format is great sticks, and we're all out here just to have a good time and put on some entertainment for you guys as well.
See you next week.
Yep. See you next Wednesday.
Well, that's round number 2. Out here in these winds trying to fight this. We had fun. We couldn't put it together. The last, I don't know, probably 5 minutes ago, we finally got one 10-ouncer. And to pull up that score sheet and see we only have 1.5 pounds to win, it's amazing. But did all we could, I guess. I feel good. So yeah, that's that. So. Anything, Rye?
I mean, I had a fun time, even though we didn't catch much, but good learning experience.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to tell you, I watched Sean a lot. He was sitting at that front of the boat, and it was just bloop, bloop.
Oh, yeah.
The entire time. He had to be so wet. Because they were taking on water almost the entire time. Yeah, I mean, they have to feel really beat up today because they were out in the teeth, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these teams kind of battled through the adverse conditions on Bago, and they stuck with it. Neither of them really had much to show for it, but ultimately, Nickel and Golke got it done.
Yeah, they talked about switching baits a lot. I saw the Grahams they were using live bait, it looked like.
Yep. Yeah, I think most of them, for them, came on jig and a crawler. That's what they focused on primarily, and you saw Nickel and Golke mix it up.
Yeah.
A lot of plastics, some crankbaits, some live bait for those guys. They tried the slip bobber deal, but that is very difficult when it's always drifting with the wind, especially when it's blowing that hard. It's tough to get that bait to present naturally with that kind of wind current coming across those places.
Yeah, Tuesday you guys talked about using the live bait so that the fish get the scent.
Yep.
Yeah, so... Again, they put out their best effort, 0 fish caught, so, you know, it is what it is. Lady Bago, man,
yeah.
They all made mention of it and how brutal it was and how brutal she can be, and it was a rough day as far as weight goes.
Tough draw for the both of them, and really Sean and Riley were in it till the very last second, just like they were in the first one, and really there's not much more that you can ask for going 1-1 in matches that could have went both ways on both of them. So
for sure,
to end up out of that situation 500 for both of these teams, you know, Nickel and Golke recovering after that loss to Ted and Cody in the first one, and put up a good weight in the first one as well, which helps in that season total weight category. They're in a good spot. I think that they're going to be in it right till the end, and Sean and Riley are looking to right the ship after this one, but it seemed like they were around the boats that caught them. I mean, they were around Klaus and Ackley, they were around Dawn and Yoder, and unfortunately they kind of were on the worst of that area, it seemed like, by the results. But I think that they'll put it together in the next one. Sean's strong on Bago, and Riley is going to be one who had that. If you need to put a couple more fish in the boat, I think that she's going to be able to fill that role.
We're headed towards a really fun season as far as standings go. I mean, we are at a huge log jam with 1-1 teams. The two on the bottom, we got Derleen and Barry Ochoa at 0-2, Okada 0-2, and then we got a log jam of 6 teams at 1-1,
yeah.
And then our top dogs, McCoy and Labs 2-0, Dawn and Yoder 2-0.
2-0.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
Moving
absolutely.
It's going to be a really fun fun season for these guys.
Yeah, and even with the lightweights like we saw today, it can make it difficult to watch at times if you're just looking for fish catches, but it gave everyone a lot of time to kind of break down what they were doing. Guys did a really good job of that.
Yep.
And it makes these matchups way more intense. Like, being able to be in it towards the very end of the match is all that you can ask for. And even if it is one fish to none, like, you're still very much in it. You can match that one fish at any point in time, and making those micro adjustments like we saw some guys do. It's going to be the X factor. It was the X factor yesterday. I think it's going to be the X factor again next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, can't wait. We'll be right back here on Tuesday with our pre-show. So come check that out. 11 o'clock on Tuesday, we'll be talking these same walleye anglers on the same body of water, but thank goodness we have our experts in here talking about weather conditions and changing of the winds, and it's going to be fascinating. We'll preview the matchups. It'll be a good time. Thanks, Tyler. A lot of fun. Andy in the back. And thanks to all you tuning in. Fun event. Walleye event number 2 on the Winnebago chain. There's our recap. And we'll see you all next time. Till then, be great.